So today, I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free apple compote-filled puff pastry treats. Easy Apple Compote is a simple, soul-warming recipe for apple compote flavored with brown sugar, vanilla, and cinnamon. And so today we're not going to make our gluten-free puff pastry from scratch. That's a little bit of a challenge. But we found it in our local grocery store, so we're going to use grocery store-bought frozen gluten-free puff pastry. And it's wonderful. It's so easy to work with, not quite as flexible and stretchy as regular flour puff pastry, but still makes a very, very delicious gluten-free treat for those of you who prefer to go gluten-free. Are you ready? Well then let's get started. We have 1 pound of Granny Smith apples and 1 pound of Gala apples. Combine the apples, brown sugar, cinnamon, salt, and vanilla extract and water together in a medium saucepan. A half cup or 110 grams of light brown sugar, 1 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a pinch of salt. Bring it to a simmer over medium heat and then reduce the heat to low. Cook until the apples are tender but haven't completely lost their shape, or about 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. If the mixture becomes too dry while it is cooking, add another couple tablespoons of water and continue cooking as directed. Then we'll add a squeeze of lemon juice and continue to combine. So we need to let our gluten-free frozen puff pastry come to room temperature before we unroll it. Follow the instructions on the package to get the best results. Use a light dusting of flour on your hands and on the surface of the pastry to make sure that nothing is sticky. Next, we're going to use a 3 1/4 inch cookie cutter or biscuit cutter to make 3 1/4 inch circles of our dough and place it onto parchment paper on a parchment lined baking sheet. The next thing we're going to do is place about 1 heaping tablespoon of compote right in the center of each of our puff pastry circles. Now, cover each of our puff pastry circles that have the apple compote in place with a second puff pastry circle over the top of each one. So the next thing we want to do with all the pieces in place, we're going to take a fork and lightly press the edges of each of the circles together to lightly crimp the 2 pieces of puff pastry together. And this would be a good time to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Get ready to put the treats into a hot oven. And if you find your gluten-free puff pastry to be a little bit dry or crumbly, you can just take a little bit of chilled water and dab it around the edges to soften the puff pastry a little more. That way the 2 pieces will stick together and you'll have a nice closed little piece of puff pastry treat. Now take a very sharp knife and cut a little crisscross across the top of each of our puff pastry treats, and that will let it vent off any steam once it gets into the oven. And the last step that we need to do before we pop these little treats into the oven is we want to use an egg wash and just lightly brush the egg wash over the top of each piece of puff pastry. So here you have it, my friends. Here's your apple compote gluten-free puff pastry treats. Just let them cool and enjoy, maybe with a scoop of ice cream. So I hope you'll do me a favor, click that thumbs up like button, subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy baking! Bye-bye!
Yum.